said that right.
No, that's close.
He's been a school board member, and but I've asked him to come today to talk about his state legislative work. And so, please join me in welcoming Bubba.
Don't get up for me. In fact, coming in the door, Randy said, "Bub, where are your notes?" And I said, "Well, I don't have notes. In fact, I think if I had notes or I was prepared, I don't think I'd be the guy that's elected to the House of Representatives." So what I intend to do is speak a little bit from my heart and my head, and hopefully answer a few questions for you today. And that is my good friend and broadcast partner of Bobcat football, Randy Wright.
I know I didn't say that.
I've said that about 400 or 500 times over the years, and hopefully we'll be able to say it again next year. But I was here on June the 5th, which was my birthday, and I recall most of you were here, and I was just a few months out of the session. We ended up at the 1st of April, and it was a fairly intense 3-month time. And I will tell you today, I guess I can make the official announcement right here to the Kiwanis Club. I will be running for re-election. It'll be coming out in the paper today, and frankly, what I said in the paper was this: that my goal when I went to Little Rock was to learn the process where I could provide fair and effective representation to you. Now, I will tell you that I have not perfected the process. There's still a great deal to learn, but I'm learning on a daily basis, and I have truly tried to provide you fair and effective representation. Since June the 5th, and I talked to you last, there's been a great many things going on, and I'll touch on a few of them, and if there's something that you want me to touch on, I'll be happy to talk with you about it. But since that time, we have elected a new Speaker of the House who will be ramrodding things in the 2009 session. Representative Robbie Wills from Conway will be the Speaker for that session, and just a couple of months ago we went and elected Robbie to the post. And the only reason I'm bringing that up to you, a few years ago, even if you go back just maybe 15 or 20 years, the Speaker of the House was largely a ceremonial position. That's not the case anymore. In fact, I think this, and along with people that are much smarter than I about state government and policy, I believe that the Speaker of the House is probably the second or third most powerful person in our state government. And that is simply because with the advent of term limits, which in my case is 6 years in the House of Representatives if I get elected each time, each new legislative session brings a turnover of about 30%. I think when I came in last time, there were 35 of us that were new legislators. So it's very important, number one, for that Speaker to get these freshman legislators like myself up to speed quickly. It's a whirlwind of a process when you go up there, and I know many of you have watched sessions in progress. Many of you may have even been in committee hearings, but it's just it's a process that you can never prepare for until you actually get into it, and this is what you get. So it's from can to can't, really, and that's what you do. So the Speaker is very important to provide the orientation and basically an outline for you to go by as a new legislator. So he has to be a good leader to begin with. Then I think that Speaker, it's very important for that Speaker to be eminently fair with all 100 legislators, because he's going to be the one that assigns chairmanships and vice chairmanships to these committees. And as an example, Kenny Muldrew probably doesn't want me being the head of education. We want somebody with a little more experience. We want somebody that's been on the front line, that knows this inside and out. And that's where that Speaker has to use his judgment about who he's going to put over each and every committee: education, judiciary, just going down the line, public health, and insurance and commerce, and so on. So we've got to have those right people in the right spots, and that's where the Speaker is so important. And then finally, the Speaker, the most important things he does, he can basically pass legislation or kill legislation by where he assigns that particular bill, what committee he assigns it to. I've seen it done. It's probably going to be done again. I've seen legislation assigned to a certain committee that they knew the votes weren't there. That's where they put it. So it never gets out of the committee. And thusly, it doesn't get a vote by me or the other folks in the House. And so that legislation, in effect, is dead. So the Speaker is a very important person in our state government. And I'm happy to say that Robbie Wills is a good friend of mine. He sat right behind me during the session, and I got an opportunity to spend a great deal of time with Representative Wills, and I think that he is an eminently fair man, as I mentioned earlier, and I think he's going to do an outstanding job. So I think it's going to be imperative that he is so, because as you know, when we go into 2009, whether it's me or someone else, there's not going to be $1 billion surplus for us to work with. So money's going to be a lot tighter. The governor's still talking about going with the other 3 cents on his grocery tax, and so we'll see. So it's going to take a pretty good man or woman at the helm at that Speaker position, and I'm very confident in Robbie, so he's already doing a lot of work preparing for that session. The other thing that has been going on, has been getting a lot of headlines throughout the state, is the severance tax issue. As a matter of fact, I was told Friday that they're very close to calling a special session on this severance tax issue. And frankly, what that means to me, or what it says to me, is that if the governor is going to call a special session, then I suspect he and the companies that go in there and extract the gas have probably come to an agreement about what they think of the tax, they want the tax to be, and that they can pass it legislatively. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a severance tax in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I do know that he wants to get that resolved prior to the campaign season really getting to roll and get going. So I think in 2 to 3 weeks, if we don't have one in 3 weeks, we're probably not going to have one. And then, which frankly, I'm not opposed to at all, a ballot initiative to let everyone vote on the severance tax. So if that happens, I know how I will vote, and I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. I'm not opposed to going and casting a vote in the House of Representatives, but sometimes I just think the people need to say things that are this important. There are 2 sides to this issue, so that is certainly a possibility. Some of the other things I've been doing, before I get to talk to you about the SWEPCO plan, I want to let you know that Governor Beebe was very good to us here in Southwest Arkansas recently. He released $9,000 to us just last week from his emergency fund to help the city of Blevins replace their water well, which went out over the Christmas holidays. And Blevins, being like a lot of the small municipalities, they don't have a sales tax base. They really are just running their budget on a shoestring. They get a little money from the county and a little turnback money from the state, but not really enough to handle $9,000 emergencies. So I met with the governor and his staff a while back, and they were very positive about what we wanted to do, and they did call me a couple of weeks ago and said they were going to give Blevins some money. So Mayor Steed and I went up last week and we took that money, and Blevins is going to be able to turnkey that project and get it done quickly. They had been using their backup system, and that went out. Basically, the city would be without water. So we're very, very pleased that the governor was able to do that.